to leave it. And I went through times of suicidal depression, to times when I was just so depressed. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't understand what had happened to me. I couldn't understand what Scientology was all about.
While she was at Poole Mission, Ali kept hearing about this place, Saint Hill. This is where Scientology is controlled from in the UK. It's also the home of the Sea Organization, the dedicated elite core of the Church of Scientology. Ali's next task is to get inside what's regarded as the Holy of Holies amongst devotees of Scientology. Saint Hill Manor is just outside East Grinstead in Sussex. Ron Hubbard lived here until 1966. Ali is taken to the castle built in the grounds. This is where Scientology courses are taught, right up to the highest levels.
I went to Saint Hill just to look at the home of L. Ron Hubbard, and within an hour I was taken into the recruiter's office and I was asked if I wanted to join the Sea Organization.
Yeah, it's very dedicated, and that's all you do, like you get birds and fed and, you know.
Right.
It certainly is dedicated. The recruiting officer fails to mention that Ali will be required to sign this billion-year contract if she joins. But she does explain that clearing the planet is a very big task.
Our village is very big because obviously we clear Earth, you know, and it takes a long, long time, right?
Mm.
We're talking about 5 billion people on this planet.
Yeah.
Former Scientologist John Atack has collected an enormous archive on the bizarre system of beliefs that Ron Hubbard invented. Clearing the planet means taking everyone up to the secret OT or operating Thetan levels. It can cost Scientologists around £20,000 to discover these inner mysteries.
Once you've paid an enormous amount of money and signed a covenant of secrecy, and you get onto the third OT level, you're told that a galactic prince called Xenu, some 75 million years ago, rounded up the populations of 76 planets, averaging 178 billion per planet, and brought them to Earth and clustered them together using hydrogen bombs, having dumped them in volcanoes.
The spirits of these exiles, or Thetans as Hubbard called them, on release from the volcanoes attach themselves to human beings. Here's one of them on the cover of one of his many books.
Scientologists who are doing OT levels come to believe that they're inhabited by thousands of little alien spirits, extraterrestrial spirits, and they're basically seeking to exorcise these spirits which are governing their behavior and reactions.
Meanwhile, the Sea Organization are determined to find out everything they can about Ali. She has to answer some very personal questions.
I had to list all of my sexual partners, everything I did with them, how many times, very, very detailed information. And I queried that because I was quite upset about that, and they said it was there to help me.
Scientology keeps records on everything its recruits reveal. This information has been used to silence former members.
I've yet to meet anybody who hasn't done something embarrassing in their life. And Scientology will inevitably find out about it. And anything that hasn't been found out, or anything sexual you've done that could be considered reprehensible. So the organisation does have a tremendous power over former members.
When inside Saint Hill, Ali saw a document about Scientology's chief critic John Atack. She put the document in her bag to read in the privacy of the toilet, meaning to put it back later. But unknown to Ali, the Scientologists were secretly filming her, secretly filming them. They called the police.
When I was arrested, it happened very suddenly. I found myself being taken out of the castle by the police, and all of a sudden all sorts of Sea Org members I'd never seen before, older ones who were quite scary looking, quite sinister, came out of the woodwork, and 3 or 4 of them were taking photographs or video footage of me. It was bizarre. Everyone was lining the corridors as I was walking out, looking at me, and as soon as I gave them eye contact, they'd look away from me like I was evil or something. It was an amazing experience.
We wanted representatives of Scientology to appear in this program, but conditions for an interview could not be agreed. Scientology does not approve of open discussion of its beliefs. It calls journalists suppressive people and believes them to be irredeemably evil. Ron Hubbard devised a special policy to deal with these perceived enemies of Scientology. It allows them to do anything to deter, discredit, or destroy their critics. Journalist Russell Miller faced months of harassment as his biography of Hubbard neared publication.
Firstly, they kept informing the police that I was responsible for various crimes. And so the police would show up at my doorstep, wanted to know why I was on such and such a day. The first crime was the murder of someone in a pub in South London. And they had solid evidence that I was responsible for that, or so they thought.
After fighting countless lawsuits against Scientology, leading critic John Atack went bankrupt in May. He's been harassed by them since 1983.
I've been followed by private detectives. Private detectives have sought to interrogate my family, my wife's family. If you just write down a list of the worst possible things you can say about somebody, I've been accused of those things. Not just in whispering campaigns, but in print.
Scientology vigorously defends its freedom of belief, saying it improves life in a troubled world. But evidence is accumulating that it's one of the most destructive cults.
Scientologists who have come out of their group have reported some of the highest instances of suicidal and self-destructive tendencies afterwards. And many of them have told us that when they were in the group, they were warned that if they left Scientology, they would commit suicide within 6 months. Many of them left with enormous fear.
John Buchanan was a Scottish landscape gardener who worked in Germany. 3 years ago, John became involved in Scientology at the Munich mission. He piled up huge debts with several German banks to buy Scientology courses and materials. Last November, to escape his debts, he committed suicide. He left a final note for his mother, Mary MacDonald. He explained that he believed that he would come back to life and return to Scotland. The Scientology had taught John Buchanan to believe in reincarnation.
It definitely said that he was going to be reincarnated and come back in another life or another form, which obviously something that he was never brought up to believe in, and I just didn't know that he did believe in things like that.
John Buchanan did return to Scotland to be buried in this village churchyard in the Trossachs. When he died, among his few possessions were the Scientology books, tapes and equipment that had cost him thousands of pounds.
I feel that if it wasn't for Scientology, he probably still be here.